Hello, people of the internet. Good afternoon, good evening. Let's get a little bit of music going. Yeah, maybe the chill station today. Yeah. All right. How are you, folks? This is Thursday. Hope you're doing well. And this is the dotNET Dev Show. I'm your host, Sam Basu. And if you have been keen-eyed, you'll notice the intro at the beginning has a different hour. It's like 10 to 11 Eastern time. But I'm on a little later on. I've had lunch, so I'm a little bit more relaxed. We had a podcast recording this morning, so I just pushed it back a little bit. So thanks for joining me. Let's see, maybe the music is a little too loud. Chat room, let me know, and I can maybe pull it back a little bit so it's just mellow and not in our way. Okay, so this is the dotNET Dev Show. So we do dotNET things, and I'm going to continue building on an app that I had started with .NET MAUI. Maybe I'll do just a 1 minute intro of what I'm doing, and then we'll get into it. Okay, so this is for .NET MAUI, right? So let's make sure I'm seeing all of your chat notifications. Yeah. Hey, Brave Cobra. Hi there. Good to see you. Okay, so this is using .NET MAUI, the app, and hence the shirt. So this is an evolution of Xamarin Forms, and it's the next wave of cross-platform development with .NET. Running on .NET 6, we're going to reach iOS, Android, Windows, and Mac. So the promise is there. The runtime is there. The tooling is catching up a little bit. It's better on Windows than it is on Mac, but it works. So that's what we're going to use. And actually, I might keep this open because the docs might sometimes help. Hello, it's Marky. Hello. Thank you for being here. Okay. So let's go over to blogs, which is for the company that I work for, blogs.telerik.com, and I want to show you maybe one sample article. So if you're tuned in to our blogs or to what I do, I'm excited about this, as you can tell. So every Monday I put out an article called Sands of MAUI, kind of a wordplay on the island of Hawaii and Maui. Brave Cobra has a quick question. I've been fighting with Maui on Windows in a hybrid Blazor app. I can get the top nav bar to disappear as it makes no sense when doing a Blazor-only web view. Yeah, so what's the question? So Brave Cobra is asking about hybrid Blazor apps, which I will actually also use a little bit of Blazor web view on this, but I haven't gotten there yet. Yeah, I mean, the struggle is real with the tooling catching up. Sometimes you do see issues crop up. So yeah, let me know, Brave Cobra, what you're dealing with. But every Monday I write this up. So essentially, it's like a community newsletter type thing. I try to get 5 top things that the community has done in the last week or so that are relevant to .NET MAUI developers, and I put this out as an articles for anyone just coming into Maui. If you want to kind of stay in tune with all the happenings, this may be one place. So there has been a desire to see this thing as an app, so you don't have to come and get it. It's like a notification that shows up on your phone every Monday to say, hey, there's a new newsletter issue out, and you can go catch up on the Maui news. So that's what I'm doing. All right. Howdy, 3D Potter Red. Good to see you. I'm on a little later on this Thursday. I was saying I've had lunch. I'm a little bit more, calm and relaxed. The morning got a little busy. Glad to be here, though. Glad to not skip. Okay. So that's what I was building, and I've started and restarted this app a couple of times with Maui still being in preview, a couple of breaking changes, but I think we are at a point where the core pieces should not change a whole lot. Currently lunching myself. Good, good. Hopefully your lunch wasn't or isn't as bad as mine. Mine was like leftover from like 2 dinners back. But yeah, you make do. Lunches have to be quick sometimes. Let's open up the app and see where we are. So last stream, I think I got to a point where I was just able to get some data to show up, but I want to move it forward. So I'm going to be on my Mac side of things, so it's going to be all terminal. I don't have much debugging, but that's okay. So I'm going to go into my projects and list out my stuff. Sands of Maui is what it was called. Sands of Maui. All right, and we're going to open this up in VS Code and start from there. Okay. Let's see where I left off. Yeah, okay. So this app, it's a dotNET MAUI app. It is not hybrid yet. It is purely XAML and C#, but I will bring in a Blazor web view once I'm ready. But here's what I'm trying to do, and maybe I should bring that up to see how my cloud service is doing. So I have all of this data, every article issue, and I'm essentially thinking of putting it in a cloud service so I can easily pull back first up the list of issues. Like I have had 44 issues since March of 2021. So every week there is one. I think I missed like 2 weeks last year. And then I want to pull back a list of issues, and then when you tap on each issue, I want to show you what it is. So this like markup is already in HTML, so that's where I might actually use the Blazor web view, because I don't want to redo the markup for mobile or desktop. It's already there. But to just get a list of issues out, I'm actually going to use Azure. And I don't know if this might be a bit of an overkill, but I'm sticking to what I already have and what I already know. Where is that? That doesn't sound like it. Azure Cosmos DB, that's where it is. So I'm using go to resource. I'm using Azure Cosmos DB, and what I have here is, again, maybe an overkill, but it's a document DB. I'm using like SQL to look things up. Let's see, Data Explorer. So yeah, I have 2 things here. I have the Sands of Maui issue list, which is just the list of issues, and then I have the actual issues, which will have HTML. So I think I have 2 items here, 1 and 2, just kind of playing around with it. So that's number 1. Can I make this a little bigger? Maybe. So that's my JSON sitting there as a document. Like that's Maui issue 1, published on 1st of March 2021, and then this is Maui issue 2. And once you get down to the details, so like the ID will be our link between which issue it is, and then I think I'll want to pull back some HTML, which I probably don't have yet. So yeah, the HTML bodies, which will be the actual content of the article, which we want to show. So that's where I am at, and I think in the last stream I was able to pull back just this list of issues, and be able to, so the first task is be able to see that in our app, and then be able to look at the details of each issue. So let's see where things are. Go to VS Code. Okay, so this is the dotNET MAUI app. Let's see if I go into where I left off. Okay, so I have an issue list. Is this too small, or folks can read? Let me know, chat room. So I have an issue list for the name and the published for the list of issues, and this is my Cosmos service. Notice how I'm going to Azure. Don't copy my primary key, but I have a database. I have a container. This is code I copied from the Azure Cosmos DB docs. So I'm newing up a client database container, and I'm doing a SQL-like query, although I'm looking up really 2 documents. And if my query iterator has more results, then I want to read each result, and I want to stick it inside this list of issues. which is essentially just a generic C# list, right? So in let's see where. Oh, I should maybe change this because I was tinkering with this. Okay, so main page. We don't want to do that. We want to first maybe see the main page that we are on. And main page. I'm not sure why it's not giving me any IntelliSense, but which is fine. VS Code doesn't officially support Maui. Sometimes it shows up. So we want to new up this main page, and in that main page, oh, by the way, this is the newest template, so you don't see the using statements up on top, and this is like a file scoped namespace, so it's nice and crisp. Only the code that I need. Everything is just in one namespace for that file. So in my main page, this is the default main page that comes from the .NET MAUI template. So this is .NET New MAUI. That's the template I'm using, and I think here, oh, so this is where I had done the stuff. So this is again out of the box, but what we are doing here is initiating the cloud service, doing the fetch, which I actually have to revisit because I'm not doing this as an await and async. So that's not good because this is a cloud service, and I might throw like a, busy indicator, but hopefully when this finishes on the click event handler, just to check if it's working, I have the counter label looking at the list of issues and giving me the count of how many it got. So let us see if this was working from the last time I left it. Do I have a Mac Catalyst build? Yeah. And again, this is .NET MAUI, so works on iOS, Android, Windows, and Mac. This one's working on a Mac build. Yeah, Brave Cobra, if you're still in the chat room, let me know what you were seeing. I can't get the top nav bar to disappear as it makes no sense when doing a Blazor-only web view. Top nav bar. Let me see if I can I can try to see what you're looking at, but you don't need to have a top nav bar. I think by default, if you pick the Blazor template, then all you get is a Blazor web view, and your entire app is essentially Blazor. So I'm not sure why you're getting a top nav bar. Can you explain a little bit, Brave Cobra? I can try to see what you're doing. Okay, in the meantime, I got my app. This is running on Mac, and if I do a click me, you see that how the counter thing gets replaced by a 2. So that 2 is coming from like the count. So I got like 2 issues in my list, and that's what I'm getting. So that's the part that was working. Now, the thing that I want to bring in is a little bit of UI. Justin Bieber? Oh boy, okay. Justin Bieber is here with a good question, and let's see if my highlighting thing is going to work. There you go. Okay. Justin Bieber 382. No, it's not WPF. So we kind of talked about Maui at the beginning. So Maui is the evolution of, I should say .NET MAUI is the evolution of Xamarin Forms. So we have iOS and Android; those are given, where you write C# and that's shared, and then the abstraction, the UI abstraction, is either C# or XAML, and then at runtime we render native UI components for iOS or Android. For the 2 desktop things that are new, thankfully they are not reinventing the wheel. For Windows, they're using WinUI 3 under the covers, which is essentially the latest Windows stack. So when you write abstracted XAML or C#, it goes through WinUI 3 and renders the latest Windows components if you're on Windows. And for Mac, it's actually using Mac Catalyst, which is the Apple approved bridge of running iPad apps on the Mac desktop. So that's what it's doing. So it's not WPF, it's WinUI 3. Okay, hopefully that helps, and let's go back and talk about the next thing I was trying to bring in. So I need some UI, and again, I'm biased because I work for Progress Software, but for me, the Maui UI is really going to shine here because I need a couple of things in here. So I'm bringing in Telerik UI for .NET MAUI, and I need that list view to show a list of, you know, issues that are in my Sands of MAUI. I don't think I'll need load on demand because it's not that many, but it's going to grow. I do want some gesture support, documentation, sure. So if I go into the list view support, see, I need a couple of things here. I was thinking like maybe I'll do the item swipe support, which is like I can like maybe swipe over and maybe I can like a certain issue, so that in that way I can just go look at the liked ones more. I can do a customized appearance, but I do want to bring in this list view because it is on steroids, and I also need the busy indicator for the time when I'm going out and looking up my issue list. Justin Bieber 382, WinUI only runs on Windows 10. Haha. No, my friend, it is not going to run on Windows 7. I think I'm saying this right, but you know, please go and verify. But it is Windows 10 forward. So I don't think .NET MAUI apps are meant to run on Windows 10 backwards. So yeah. Okay, so to bring this in, there are a couple of things I need, and since again we don't have VS for Mac support, like the NuGet feed thingy is not as nice. So here's what I did. Like I have the Telerik bits in a separate project. If I go into Documents, Progress, if I go through the installer and if I just try this, like right now it's at 0.4.0. So it's semantic ordering. It's getting a little serious. So I have all my binaries here for each of the platforms, which I don't have to bring in separately. But there is one packages folder which has the nupkeg file, which is the NuGet for all of it. Right now it's all together. Eventually it'll be broken up into individual packages for different controls you might want to use. So I want to use that. But to do that, there are a couple of things I think I had to do. So first is I put that in a package folder. That's the NuGet package. And then in my CS proj, I had to say that I'm using that package reference, right? That item group. And the other thing I had to do was, since it doesn't know where to look for this, I had to drop a NuGet config file. And these ones, I don't necessarily think I need to do this. This is like default what .NET uses anyways to go get some of the bits for .NET 6. So these are the NuGet package sources essentially. But this is the one that I need, the local thing of .wac packages. So that's how I'm saying go look up that package. So with that, I think I can actually. Oh, and one more thing. I think in my MAUI program, there is this extension method we have used Telerik. Some of the controls use compatibility mode, so we are registering the the renderers to work with .NET MAUI and the handler architecture. So I think I had a page here called issue list where I was just trying the barcode. This was last week, so I was just trying to make it show up, and I think it will show up. So let's change it from AppXAML. Oh, that's why I had the issue list, right? So I don't need that anymore. I'm glad to see that code is still working. So issue list. So we want to go to that page first. So now you're not going to see me make that call. So now we're just going to go to this page. And I was just trying to render a barcode just to see if the UI is there or not. So let's try that. Mac Catalyst build is fine, and I can also run this on iOS. Optimizing assemblies, and it's done. And yeah, there you go. Okay, so I have a barcode. You see that? And of course, it's not like rendered right, and it can be resized and all that stuff because I'm not doing anything. I'm just like literally just trying to show the barcode. So I have the references right. So now I can start building up the actual list view. So let's go in here first. List view, getting started. Okay, so our documentation says this is how you can get started. You want a list of strings that you want to show, that's fine. And there's some dummy data here that we are wiring up. That's fine. Let's make this a little bigger so you can all see. Let's do that. Let's actually plop in the list view, and then we're going to make the cloud call and try to bind the data to our list view, and then we can have like tap actions. Oh, Justin Bieber had a good question here. 382, is Maui single threaded? That's a loaded question, and I'm not the expert, but the UI part of it is single threaded because it's one UI thread, but you can spin off other things and other processes that will go off and do their thing and come back, and you can have a merger into the the UI thread. When you do things like await and async in C#, it is still the single thread, but it can spawn off a different thread to get something done. Like for example, to go fetch the data here from my cloud service, that happens on a different thread, and then when it's done, it lets the the envelope know that hey, there is some data inside of it, and then you can on the UI thread just do the data binding part. So in a way it's yes, but it doesn't stop you from spinning off the other threads, and some of it is at the discretion of the compiler and the OS, but yeah. Okay, so let's get a list view going. Okay, so add the following namespace. All right, so let's do that. So here I don't need a barcode anymore. That was just to try it out. I would much rather have a data control. It's coming from that data controls assembly. That's fine. And then I want to, let's just get a list view to show up, and then we can start tinkering with it and binding to our data. So just one control, Telerik data controls, rat list view, list view. Okay, so yeah, let's call it list view. That's fine for now. But we need to give the data list view some stuff, and it looks like there's some code here. Oh, so we are newing up a source item with the string name, and it's a view model. Sure, that's fine. We can just copy that. Go into our issue list view, and maybe outside of this we can do that. So we have a couple of extra classes here, which we're going to throw away in a minute, but let's just see if it shows up. Source item is here. Here's my view model class. That's my source name with a bunch of random names. Yeah. And then in the list view, oh, okay. So the list view has to have a little bit more, and that's fine. So let's go into that. And do that. Hold on, I'm seeing questions in the chat room. Give me 1 second. So essentially, red list view. This binding context is important. We're going to point to that view model that we described in the code behind, and the code behind is automatically wired up because that X class is pointing to the list view. And this is my list view. There's item template in there. There's a grid, and there's just a label, and then we're binding to the name. So we'll see if this is working. Oh, okay. 3D Potterat is asking a good question, which might take me a bit to answer because it's early days, but I'll try my best, and just keep in mind, like, I'm not the final authority here. The question is, what is Telerik Maui, .NET for Maui? No, Telerik UI for .NET MAUI. How's that going to be priced? So I can tell you, just again, this is not marked in stone here. I can tell you what we are thinking, and that is right now, if you go out there, everything is free. because dotNET MAUI is not out yet. This has a big like preview tag on it, so you can download, you can keep the DLLs, you can play with this all day. Low ball for me, so my price can get grandfathered in. So right now this will be priced eventually once MAUI is out at pretty much the same as what our Xamarin Suite is. For it's per developer, it's perpetual, but if you have a Xamarin license already, we will likely kind of get you over to MAUI and then kind of upconvert you to DevCraft and just give you a whole bunch of things for free, with the assumption that you can not take it if you want. You can just keep MAUI, but if you do DevCraft, then the renewal is going to be for the full thing, which again, it's entirely up to you whether you want to keep it or not, but you will have it. If you have Xamarin today, you will be well taken care of. But otherwise, this is going to be part of our DevCraft suite, which you can get the whole thing, which is what most enterprises get, or you can just get Telerik UF for dotNET MAUI. And I don't have a ballpark on exactly how it's going to be priced, but probably very competitive to what the Xamarin offering is. So that's my short answer, 3D Polareth. I hope that helps. Yeah. Okay, so let's see if I can make a list view show up, and then we can do other things. So here's my list view, and it should have pointing to the view model, and I'm binding to the name, so should be pretty simple, I hope. I got my source and my view model classes right here. Okay, let's see if this will compile and work. No. Okay, so this is errors because dotNET MAUI is not quite completely done, and some of the tooling gets a little confused, I think, with so many classes. So let's try to maybe help it a little bit. It's getting confused with this, and since I've defined multiple classes in this, how can we help this cause? Can't we just like create a list of names and call it a day? How about that? All right. Let's do. No, let's see. I don't have to write. I don't want to write a whole lot of throwaway code. I just want to see the list view working before I bring in my data source. List or source item is exposed as a source. And how is that source bound? On the view model, it has this thing called this.source. And oh, so item source is bound, is connected to source. Okay. And that's how within the source it gets the collection that has the thing name. The source item has the thing name. Okay. Shouldn't be too difficult to fake. We can do that. Let's create a list of string. We're going to call it not issue list view, just a list. And why can I not define I'm inside the constructor. All right. It's giving me a whole bunch of errors for just nothing really. List of strings called source. Okay. And in here, in our initializer, we can new up source, new list And what's the syntax on C# these days? I can do that, right? Sam, can I do that? Ed, my good friend Ed. No, it's barking at me. It's okay, I wanted to do this rather. Is that okay? Yeah. Okay, so I don't need the source item anymore. This view model class, I don't know if I need the view model class. Can I just not say binding context is like this, so it just knows what it is? Okay, so let's take out this. And the view model, it just needs to have a public property called source, which is what I have. Can't I make it public? Sure I can. List called source. In here is that. Okay, hold on. I want to see if this is gonna stop barking at me if I take this out. Okay, so now there's nothing in the code behind. And hold on, I'm gonna take that out and see if I can fix this issue of, you know, me defining more things in this class, throwing Maui off. Is that good enough to run? I've taken everything out now. No. What is type string to int? Which one is string to int? Which one are you complaining about? Issue list XAML.cs. Oh, is it this what you have to do? Jeez. What is going on with me? I can't define a string. C#. Okay. It is a curly braces. Yeah. No. Okay, let me grab this whole thing because it also needs to end, right? All right, so we already have source. We're just going to new this up and say 1, 2, 3. That should be fine. No, one extra thing here. Okay, that should make the compiler happy, I think. After lunch stream, anything can happen. Exactly right. I'm forgetting everything now, but that's fine. I just want to have the compiler stop what it's complaining about. Okay, now you should be happy with my collection of things, and I can hopefully build again. Yeah. Yeah, let me know, folks, if you have any, burning questions about .NET MAUI and what's happening, what's concerning you. I might have some answers. I do work closely with the team. Okay, so I think we're back in business. The blank screen is what we want because it's showing me that view, which doesn't have anything. Okay. All right. Now let's go back in here. How do I define this binding context without actually having to create the view model class? Would you be willing to take a Xamarin question? Yes, 3D Polaroid, absolutely, go for it. I don't know if I will have answers, but I will try. Go for it. because I'm struggling with basic stuff anyways, so might as well, have a conversation with you all. How could you bind to the code behind instead of the VM? Oh, okay. So that's a good one. And we can actually do this right here, because like what I'm doing here has nothing to do with dotNET MAUI. How could you bind to the code behind instead of the VM, like view model? That's exactly what I was actually trying to do. So let's do that. Let's do that. Okay. Yeah, I don't want the view model. I just want basic stuff. Okay, so let's do. Apparently, I have done a search on XAML data binding in the past. That helps. Now let's do Xamarin Forms, because they have solid data binding tutorials. Data binding. Yeah. Okay. Data linking problem. Yeah. Basic binding, binding mode, one-way, two-way, string formatting, binding path, converters, relative bindings, so many things with bindings, compiled bindings. Okay, let's look at the basics. Let's see, what are they doing? So they have a content page here, label, they have a slider. What are they trying to do? Because one of my friends, Alyssa, she was streaming the other day and we were looking at stuff like this. Because these are like basic things for, anybody to get started with XAML, and, sometimes the basic things are not well understood. And like I struggle a lot with some of these basic things. Okay, so here they're setting the binding context of the label to the slider directly, and we're setting the binding to the rotation property. I think as you slide, like the text, I think changes. Yeah, so they're setting the rotation property. Oh, so hold on, 3D Polaroid, you were not asking me a question. My bad. Because you were essentially just edging me to do without a view model. I'm sorry. Yeah, please go ahead with your Xamarin question. I went off on a different tangent because I thought that's where you were asking in Xamarin Forms. So please go ahead. Okay, so yeah, I don't need a view model. I just need binding context, and this may be what I do. Because once I have, let me take out this. I don't need the binding context right now, and I can set. I think that might actually that binding context might work. Item source of source, if I do have a source property, which I do, and then it should find that list. And except there is no name here. Maybe I don't even need the template. It should be able to just guess from the source I'm giving it, right? I hope. Let's see how much it barks at me if I do this. Is everything saved? Yes. So let's do a build. Tony Dev MZ, I want to be like me. By like you. No, don't be like me. I'm an old man and I struggle with the smallest of things. I stay up late at night and I wake up early, and so I'm going to die pretty soon. Don't be like me. Okay, so 3D Polaroid, I think that's the question you were trying to ask first. This bug is listed as completed. All right, let's look at your question here. All right, what are you asking? This bug is listed as completed with the stroke property with the gradient brush, and the endpoints do not control anything after completion. What is this pull request? Oh, it's Javier Suarez. Android upgrade gradients based on offset changes in frame and box frame. I have no idea. 3D Polaroid. I'm looking at this for the first time. Is this like not doing what it's what the demos are showing it's doing? Upgrade gradients based on the offset changes in frame and box view. I don't know. I have never played with this 3D Polaroid. Have you tried like asking Javier if it's like why it's not working? I was looking into adding a gradient for loading circle. The fill works, but the stroke probably does not work. Yeah, I don't know. Ask Javier. He's pretty responsive. He's out of Spain. He actually spends more time on the dotNET MAUI and what's the thing with the native drawings that they're doing. But I mean, he still answers things on Xamarin Forms and their forms. So asking Javier would be the smart thing to do. I'm not. Oh, jeez. Are you telling me you're not smart? Because you are smart. Because you are doing fancy things with gradients and strokes. So yeah, ask Javier. I honestly have not dealt with gradients in a long time, so I won't be able to tell you. Okay, so we are still in business, but nothing works. That's okay. So let's see what we did wrong. If I just gave it the item source, it just doesn't know what to do with it. Okay, because it needs like something to go off. All right, I can. Why is it not working? Binding context is from the code behind. Yeah, I was gonna try that because it should be able to guess. Because like if you just give it a list of strings, it should be able to guess what it is and just like show that off. So what did I call this? This dot, I think it's just called list view, and IntelliSense is gone, so it's fine. What did I call it? List view, list with a capital view. Dot item source equals source. Okay. Does this work? No. Rad list view does not contain definition for item source. No, of course it does. Accepting the first argument. What? I don't need a reference. Oh, actually, you know what? I think I may miss a reference. Hold on. Where was that? I closed it. Docs, Maui, controls, list view, getting started. So I think I have the data controls namespace. Is there another one? Oh, there's a list view namespace. Aha. Okay. So this is the data controls namespace. So that's why I just had no idea. Well, no, data controls should have the list view inside of it. I don't know. I'm just going to add it back for safety. Because that's pointing to the data controls, and then the list view actually should have the same. No, data controls should have the list view inside of it. So that's not it. Okay. Maybe I need to bring in this guy. And my XAML or code behind, and I should make that a global so I don't have to. Can I do that? Global. Then I don't have to do that. Yeah, I'm trying to keep my files clean, right? Should be able to. Okay. And now what does it complain about? Let's see. Global user directory must precede all. Oh, okay. Well, that's new. I didn't know that. Okay, okay. That was a very nice explicit error. It's nice to know. And I don't think I need any of these Maui hosting things anymore. But yeah, we'll clean it up once things start working. Okay. Back to the same problem, same error. List view does not contain a definition of item source. No, it does have a definition of item source. What am I missing? Let's see, I have the global, I have the list view. I honestly don't think I need the list view separately because it's part of the same assembly. All right. So it's fine if I do it here. Is it not called source, item source? It is called item source. So if I do it here, essentially it doesn't have the binding context right. Because see how we were defining the binding context here to some class, because like by default it doesn't know that the source is actually in the code behind file. So there is a shortcut way of saying the binding context of that list view being in there. So maybe that's what I need to do. This dot list view dot, is there a binding context? And I cannot type today. Binding, no IntelliSense. All right. Let's go take a look. What was it that we are setting? It should have a binding context. Yeah. Binding context. 3D Polydeck, is that what you meant? Like binding context this from the code behind, like this? I've never done it this way. Like I always set the binding context in XAML. You think this works? Let's try it. Let's try it. It's not complaining. That error is because I'm not doing async and await, which I need to fix at some point. It's building. Okay, no errors, but still a white screen. All right. What am I missing? Binding context of that list view is set to this. Maybe now I can... Does it really need a template? Maybe it does. Setting to the source property. What happens if I just do source here? Because like since source is now, you could set the whole thing to this instead of just the list view. Yes, yes. So that way, any other controls I put will have the binding context set. I'm trying to do away with having like a name property. Geez, this should not be so hard. Okay, let's see. We'll try it once with item source and then with the label and the binding. But this cannot be source. This is like it's trying to go through individual things. It cannot be source. Okay, let's add something. Why is it complaining so much if I add a new class? This is Maui's fault a little bit. So if I just do this, does it break? All right, nothing to display on screen, but does it break if I just do one more class called source item? Okay, now it's not complaining as badly. Come on. Okay, that's better. So what was the whole complaining in the first place? I could have done this, like when I first copied over the code, I could have just done this exact thing. Oh well. So now that we have a source item, we can easily go back and copy the rest of the code. And well, might as well copy the whole thing then. I don't have to write anything extra. If that is okay, then this should also be okay. I have a view model class now where we are setting the source. Now it's going to get confused with this. Okay, there we go. So now we're just setting the binding context to, let's not do this either. Let's just try to do exactly what the code said. So I got nothing in issue list view. I got my source item and my view model. Does this itself break, or is there something in the XAML that was breaking? Let's try. This looks okay. Builds are a little slow, but they catch up. Okay, we're still in business because we didn't display anything. Alright, so we're back to where we started, and this was what we had, and then it complained a whole bunch. Alright, let's manually take that off. Okay, so list view, binding source, setting the binding context here in view model, and we're binding to the name, which is a property now of my source item, and it's just a string property. Okay, let's see, everything is saved. Let's do another build. Now see, it's getting very confused with the moment I do this. Why is it getting so confused? Is it the binding context being set like this that it doesn't like? No. So it was fine with the source item. So how about I do away with the view model? In my item source or issue list view, I can define a public property called source, and I can do this little thing here. In here. Yeah, and then I can not need this. Same thing now. Yeah. Let's see if it complains. Still complaining. There's something like whenever you see the initialized component does not exist, it's like a more base level error that Maui is getting confused about. I can try an iOS build just to make sure it's not like a Mac specific thing that we're getting stuck up on. No, it's the same. Okay, what is so wrong about this? Can I define a class inside of a class? Because then that's partial. Because I think it's getting all hung up on this being done in the constructor. All right, so we're defining a source item class. Oops, not that I want. I meant that is what I meant. All right. Still the same. Something about the way I'm not even doing anything here in the. Okay, so this is going away because I can't make it to work. Because anything I do in here, it's getting very confused. All right, let's take out the template altogether. And it's just now we're back to just doing this, and I don't get anything, right? Maybe I give it maybe I give it a string name, and this is of the type name. Does this work? Kind of ugly, but I'm just forcing the list to have a thing called name. Unlock that. Okay. Like a Mac Catalyst build. Type on name says name could not be found. Oh, okay. That's a little better. What do you mean name? Name? Oh, I can't just like make it a list of names like that. How can I make a list of things? Oh, actually this was a string. Hold on. This was supposed to be name. How about that? Yeah, maybe. Okay. Why is this so difficult? Just let me see a list view. Binding mode. This is there. Zaman Proms is talking about the same, the text and the label. Default binding one-way, two-way. This is again the label and the slider is what they're talking about. Binding path is like a sub object. I don't need any of that. I just need a data context. I don't need value compilers. I got the use Telerik, so that one is fine. All right, let's do this. New name. And since it's a string, can I just do this? This is kind of lame. We'll stick with that. Thank you for the follow. Okay, does this work? Because now I'm explicitly resetting it as name. Okay, which name are you not understanding? How about I not do this? whatsoever. All right. I think it's just not liking the way I'm defining the collection. All right. Doesn't like my name. And it's not funny because I can't even define a new class and just have it lying around, because like the moment I define a new class right in here, Maui complains. Fine, I'm just going to define a new class right here. Name.cs, okay? How much more basic can we get? All right, so I just want to copy my namespace, and then we'll do that public partial class name, not namespace. It'll just have a string called name string. We'll make it public string name string with set and a get. All right. Now we can. It's the same namespace. So public list of the type name. So now that should be a little better, called source. Inside the name, so now we can say name string equals Sam. Is that what we called it? Yeah, name string equals Sam. And this one's a new name where the name string will set. All right, now let's see if it complains. I don't know. What are you missing? This is valid code. Name does not contain. Oh, I see. It's trying to think of this as a constructor. Okay. All right. So name name1 equals new name. How about that? And then we're going to say name1 dot name string equals Sam, right? And then name2 equals new name, right? And name2's dot name string equals add. I can type. There you go. And I can actually do these things inside so it doesn't complain. Hold on, that's not what I wanted. So we are creating two names, and the source is equals new list of names, right? And we're going to do this as basic as possible. Now source dot add, we're going to add name1, and source dot add name2. Let's see how much we have to spell it out before Maui is happy with us. List view binding context is this. Okay, now source should have a thing called name. And I will turn this on, but I first want to see if it complains. Okay, it's not complaining. Optimizing assemblies and blank screen, please. Yes, okay. Now let's go back and open up this whole chunk of code. I do want a template, and here instead of name I want you to bind to this thing called name string, because the source actually has a thing called name string. So I hope this will work. Binding context is this, and we're binding it to the source. No, I should actually set this to source. How about that? Which this and this should be about the same, but I don't know. I may have to do the binding context or the item source to that. Let's try. No. It's getting all confused the moment I turn this thing on. What is so bad about, setting up an item template? Because this is not even like C# code that it's complaining about. So if I turn that off, then we are fine, but I can't do a template. See, now it's fine, like the code is fine, it's just something about the template it's getting confused about. The joys of preview software. Okay, we're still back to a blank page. I can't show anything if I can't spell out what's in my list view. It's the item template that is really throwing it off. Alright, so if I turn that on and maybe I set it to this, because this is like it's setting the code behind to be the data context, and within the code behind it should go find a collection called the source and bind itself to it. 3D right, you're still here. You could set the whole thing. Is the template separate or is in the view? No, the template is in the list view itself, like right here. It's inside, and whatever we're defining is in the data controls assembly itself. Okay, why is it getting so worked up and giving me so many errors? See. This is not my code that's breaking it. It's hard to know. Yeah, it's perplexing. I thought I can just like bring in a list view and get going, but I cannot show a list view. It's not fun. All right, how about does dotNET MAUI have a list view? I don't know if they do yet. User interface, controls, views, present data, border. No, they don't. Layouts. I don't want a layout. No, they don't. Would they just use the collection view? They have a collection view, or you're saying we have a collection view? Content view. No, this is different. This is like a This is like a card view. Do they have a collection view? And if so, why are they not listing it out? get started, blah, blah, blah. Join you in the docs. Yeah, it is. They're working on it, but they just don't have everything, written up, which is fine. They did have a collection view, I think. All right, how about this? Like, let me just check if I can show something else. Maybe. Why is it getting so confused with my data? We have an items control, and that's not quite the same thing, but it's a list of things. Oh, maybe this will be simpler to see because like we are not trying to define a new class here. Okay, let's try this. All right, so we're gonna copy this Maui controls namespace. Yeah, now it's a different namespace. It's a Maui controls, and let's just do one items control. So take out this whole thing and just say Maui controls. Okay, and populate the items control with some data. Set a list of strings. That's fine. It's getting very confused with doing anything. Oh wait, I didn't want to take away the initialized context. I want that to be taken away and just done this. So a whole bunch of strings, that's fine. I don't have a source property anymore. All right, does this work? Because if it does, then there's something going on with our list view, and I'll have to figure out what item control. I am confused, Maui. What are you complaining about now? I have the compatibility. This should be basic for anything. Items control. Oh, wait a second. We didn't name it, that's why. Okay. That's not good on our docs actually, because we didn't actually name it. So it's saying, I don't know what that items control is. Okay, we can fix that. Can I give you a name? My items, okay. And then my items.item source equals that. Will this work? All right, better, not complaining. I got about 15 minutes before kiddo comes back from school. Let's at least try to get some UI on screen if I can. Yay! Okay. How lame that I'm clapping because I have got some text to show up on a screen. But why is this painful, Maui? I don't know if it's Maui or if it's our control, but something is completely hosed up with the list view. And maybe I'm fine with the items collection, right? Because I don't have a big set of demands. So the items collection will look anything like this, which is fine for me. But I mean, if the list view isn't working, I will take things back with our engineering to see why it's not working. But this doesn't have like the swipe gestures that I really wanted. Configuration, setting the item source. Yeah, this is just a list. I really do want the list view. I can customize the appearance. Okay. Yeah. But the list view has, virtualization and swipe gestures, which is what I need. But the list view isn't working. Maybe it's us, maybe it's Maui. It's hard to tell. But at least like I can compile this and get something to work. You know what would be a good test is if let's keep this, and if I can just do one thing on the list view, right? Just for it to do that, it should not be so difficult. I can just do this, go back here, and instead of that I'm going to do this, but I just want to set the the right namespace here. So let's grab the data controls namespace, that, right? And then what I'm going to do is, instead of doing all of this stuff, which is confusing the dotNET MAUI startup class, what if I just wanted to set it to a list of strings, like the way I did with the items collection, right? So we have a list view, right? And we're going to take this whole list view, and in my code behind, I want to set the list view's item source to be that list of strings. Does this work? Like, I got nothing else here. Nothing else. No. What do you mean it has no definition of list view? I am giving you a list view right here. List view cannot be a reserved word by any means. I think the item source property on a list view just cannot be set like that. 3D Polyrath, I'm having a hard time finding a comprehensive list of controls. No, there isn't. There isn't. And actually, you know, don't get me started complaining about the docs here. So this is dotNET MAUI, right? And it's nicely written up for anybody to get started, except when you look at getting started and installation, everything just points you to Visual Studio, right? You have to go Visual Studio 2022 17.2 preview on Windows. There is not a mention of command line tools, which works just fine, because the Windows things, like when you build your first app, like these templates, these are all command line templates first, and then Visual Studio uses them, and you can do command line builds for iOS, Android, Windows, and Mac, and they just don't talk about it. They used to, but then they took it away. So the docs are not in a good state right now. The only place list view is listed. Precedent not sure one. Maybe you need to make a PR for CLI docs. That is a good point. It's open source. Instead of complaining, we can just make a PR. Although, like the CLI not being there, I think that's more of a political decision. We heard the things that went on with, you know, .NET 6 before the launch with the CLI, the watch thing, the hot reload thing. So it's got a little bit of a political nuance to it. And of course, like the best experience is with VS 2022. But command lines work just fine on a Mac, except they just don't talk about it anywhere in the docs. Like I just so I don't forget, like I have a little cheat sheet here with all of the, you know, commands that I use, like the .NET builds, so that I don't forget, because they took it out of the docs. So my little gripe, yes, I can try. And here's the thing: instead of doing a PR, like I actually know the folks who work on the docs. I can ask them. I do not want to be the MS Docs team. No, it's a good set of folks, 3D Polyrath. It's just they have to deal with some baggage, let's just say. So yeah, I will ask them and see why, or what's the status of, you know, putting command line stuff back in. And clearly I need to, there are a couple of things going on. Like our controls are rendering, except I cannot make the I cannot make the list view render for some reason. The other controls, like I started off with a barcode, that rendered just fine. Items control renders just fine. Something about the way the list view is setting the source, item source property is really throwing things off. Because it complains about not being in the definition, which is not true. Like I'm defining it right here. and it has the data control namespace right here. So when I do this, there is just no reason for it to not render my list view. So it's a combination of, multiple factors. Continuously apply lol. I thought I would just get started with the list view and start bringing my data over, but I cannot build, or I cannot make the list view. Oh wait, this time it didn't complain. What? I didn't change any code. All right, last try. Last try. Would you look at that? What was so wrong with what I did before? What the actual heck? I didn't change any code, and here's my list view. Alright. So see, the list view does bind to just a collection of strings, which is what I've tried doing for like 40 minutes. And I could not. But here it is. Here's the list view. And now I can scroll, I can, do gestures and all the fun stuff. Okay. So sorry if I was, complaining too much, but it shouldn't be painful, but some things are. Okay, so I have at least a list view showing up, and now I can, bring in my data from Azure Cosmos DB and bind it to this collection. I do have to do the item templating to make it look nicer, so I can't just deal with it like a list of strings, but that's for another stream, because my little guy is coming back in 7 minutes from school. So, all right, and thanks for hanging out with me, and bye-bye for now. We'll see you next stream.